Something sleeps inside of us. Some innate force that dwells deep from within, somewhere located beyond our senses, but exists in our deepest essence. This untold force in today's society seems to evade the average man. The unawareness of its existence has plunged man into war, discord, and disharmony. So we can say that the awakening process of this force, at an individual level and at a collective level, must come forth for mankind to move away from war, discord, and disharmony. We shall occupy ourselves with that which is emerging through the medium of form, with that which veils or hides itself behind appearance, which is expressive of life or spirit, and which is produced through the interplay of life with matter. This, when applied of man, the reflection of divinity, and when applied to the subject of his quality, involves three recognitions. First, that a human being is an embodied life, expressing quality and registering that quality in consciousness, or as a sensitive response to the interplay going forward during the evolutionary process between matter and spirit. Second, that man, being a synthesis, registers a self-recognition which is potent enough today to enable him to differentiate reactions to the triplicity of the knower, the field of knowledge, and knowledge. A growing realization that the field of knowledge is but an appearance or an illusion, and that knowledge itself can be hindrance unless transmuted into wisdom. An evolutionary growth in responsiveness to one or other of these three, and which indicates a developing sensitivity. This is leading to growth of interest in the knower, and to a belief that the knower is the soul, one with deity, illimitable and eternal, and in time and space, the determining factor in human existence. And third, that the endless diversity of forms hides a subjective synthesis. Man can therefore eventually see expressing itself through all forms in all kingdoms a universal septenet. And when this happens, he is then entering into the world of subjective unity, and can proceed on his way consciously towards the One. He cannot as yet enter into the consciousness of that basic essential unity, but he can enter into that of his own ray life, of the emanating source of his own temporarily specialized life. The triplicity of ideas requires careful study. It might be expressed thus: with the one life, we shall not yet concern ourselves. We accept it as a basic truth, and we realize that we are on our way back from the unity of form-identified existence, through the varying unfoldments of a conscious response to divine interplay and activity, to a final identification with the one life. Form awareness has to give place to the qualified radiation of the self-conscious spiritual identity, which is that of a Son of God, appearing through form. This will be finally superseded by two phases of expression, wherein there is a sense of divine synthesis, of which our bodily well-being is the lowest form of material, yet a symbolic reflection. It is a sense of coordinated satisfaction based on realized being. 2. A withdrawal from even this life awareness to a phase still more intensive and detached, which involves an awareness of the life of God itself, free from form, but still, in a mysterious sense, aware of quality. In the language of mysticism, it might be expressed this way.
I take a body. That body is alive. I know its life. I therefore know my mother. I use a body. That body is not me. I serve the group, and in this serving live within the body, detached, a son of God. I know myself. I infuse a body. I am its life, and in that life I see life. That life is known as love. I am the love of God. I know the Father, and know his life is love. I am the body and its loving life. I am the self whose quality is love. I am the life of God himself. The Mother, Father, Son am I. Behind these three stands the unknown God. That I am.
In the early 20th century, by the means of the new field of quantum physics, the world took a great leap forward in its understanding of energy. Albert Einstein's famous equation E=mc² proved a great truth in nature, that matter is energy and energy is matter. Scientists study energy intelligently and attempt to manipulate it and unleash its power for human consumption. They devise many ways to tap energy so that it can be controlled and used. Understanding the wide diversity in which energy manifests is key to understanding esotericism. Matter is simply energy in its most dense form. Spirit is therefore the most subtle form of energy. All is energy, and all energy is ultimately one, in that it all arises from the same universal source. But there are 7 distinctive types of energy that are to be found in the manifested cosmos. They are the 7 rays, or the 7 radiological types of differentiated force. Esotericists or occultists are also scientists. The 7-ray astrological energies have been studied for thousands of years by sages and yogis who have observed the psychological impact these forces have upon consciousness. This knowledge has then been used to formulate certain spiritual practices and disciplines, such as occult meditation. Vedanta has given us Raja Yoga, Buddhists the Noble Eightfold Way, Judaism the 10 Commandments. all are designed to bring about the evolution of consciousness, so that an evolved spiritual being can emerge from the chrysalis which is ordinary man.
ప్రేమ శాంతి అహింసను పేదబడియే ప్రేమ శాంతి అహింసను పేదబడియే
Today in the world, the masculine and feminine energies of our human consciousness are slowly coming more into balance. In the past, the world has been mostly ruled by the male aspect, dominating in politics, religion, and social experiences. The balancing and the equilibrium of the true feminine aspect of our nature will bring about more wisdom and peace in the world. It is expressing the other side of the duality, as it is, at a deeper, more spiritual level. Women are the embodiment of cosmic energy, the faithful companion of man, his fortune. Since she is the concretization of the will of the Lord, she is mystery, wonder, a representative of the protective principle, and the illumination of the home. Women are in no way inferior to men, possessing intelligence, discipline, and spiritual capacity, eagerness to improve themselves. How can they be called weak? How full of fortitude and love is their nature. They are endowed with many virtues. Their self-control is seldom equal by man's. They are the exemplars and leaders for men to tread the spiritual path. Pure, selfless love is inborn in women. We may touch upon form and consider its nature. We shall emphasize upon self-consciousness as it expresses itself as responsiveness of awareness of a peculiar kind, which we call the quality of consciousness, or its inherent characteristic. We have always the subsidiary triplicities, which are only adjectival terms employed to express the quality of the appearing life. The synthesis of all of these in manifestation we call God, the isolated, the all-pervading, the detached, and the withdrawn. The above abstract truths are difficult of apprehension, but need here to be expressed so that our platform is understood, and we are not open to the criticism that we neglect reality and regard diversity as the only truth. The study of the rays, and a true, deep comprehension of the inner significance of the teaching will do for us three things. First, it will throw much light upon the times and cycles in the unfolding panorama of history. In the last analysis, history is an account of the growth and development of man, from the stage of the caveman, with his consciousness centered in his animal life, up to the present time wherein the human consciousness is steadily becoming more inclusive and mental, and so on up to the stage as a perfected Son of God. It is an account of the apprehension by man of the creative ideas which have molded the race and are establishing its destiny. It gives us a dynamic picture of the progress of those souls who are carried in or out of manifestation by the appearance or disappearance of a ray. We shall find, as we study, that words will greatly handicap our expression of the realities involved, and we must endeavor to penetrate beneath the surface, meaning to the esoteric structure of truth. These rays are in constant movement and circulation, and demonstrate an activity which is progressive and cyclic, and evidences increasing momentum in the evolution of man's consciousness. Second, a result of the study of the rays will be to clarify our knowledge as to the nature of man. Modern psychology, experimental and academic, has done much to gather information as to how a man functions. What is the nature of his reactions, the caliber of his thought apparatus, and the quality of his physical mechanism, the mode of his thinking, and the sum total of complex psychosis, neurosis, instincts, intuitions, and intellectual fixations, which he undoubtedly is. Medical psychology has also given us much, and we have learned that a human being is entirely conditioned by his instrument of expression, and can express no more than his nervous system, brain, and glands permit. We find, however, that some of these theories, even the best proven, break down given varying conditions. The field of psychology today is so vast, its schools so many and varied, and its terminology so cumbersome that we can make no attempt to deal with it here. The indebtedness of the world to the trained psychologist cannot be estimated, but unless there is a key idea interjected into the whole field of thought, it will fall of its own weight and produce problems, complexities, and diseases of the mind which are direct result of its own methods. The knowledge we now have of how men work on the physical plane as integrated personalities, and of how they can be expected to work given certain conditions, is broad and sound. And the wideness of its grasp can be somewhat gauged if we compare what we know now with what was known 200 years ago. But it has been largely based upon a study of the abnormal and upon the form aspect. This latter, being the true scientific method, is therefore limited and circumscribed when it is put to the test in the last analysis and in the light of the undoubtedly existent of supernormal. What we seek to do and the contribution we seek to make to the subject have to do with the emphasis we shall lay upon the nature of the integrating principle found within all coherent forms, and on that which can, for lack of a better word, be called the soul, or self. This principle, which informs the body nature and expresses its reactions through the emotional and mental states, is, of course, recognized by many schools of psychology, but remains nevertheless an unknown and undefinable quantity. They find it impossible to discover its origin. They know not what it is, whether or not it is an informing entity, detached and separate from the body nature. They question whether if it is an integrated energetic sum total brought into existence through the fusion of the body cells, and therefore through the process of evolution, constituting a thinking, feeling entity, or whether it is no more than the aggregated life and consciousness of the cells themselves. Not only shall we understand somewhat the inner side of history, not only shall we gain an idea of the divine qualities emerging from the three aspects and determining the forms of expression on the physical plane, but we shall have a practical method of analysis whereby we can arrive at right understanding of ourselves as ensouling entities, and at a wiser comprehension of our fellow men. We can more truly gauge our opportunity, our capacities, and our limitations. We can more justly determine our vocation and service, our assets and our debts, our true value and strength. When we can add to that knowledge an analysis which enables us to realize that the physical body is reacting preeminently to the soul ray, while the emotional body is under the influence of the personality ray, which is historically in manifestation at this time, we can then deal more intelligently with ourselves, with our children, and with our friends and associates. We shall find ourselves able to cooperate more wisely with the plan, as it is seeking expression at any particular time. The soul can be spoken of as the son of the father and of the mother, spirit and matter, and is therefore the embodied life of God, coming into incarnation in order to reveal the quality of the nature of God, which is essential, selfless love. This life, taking form, nurtures the quality of love within all forms, and eventually reveals the purpose of all creation. This is the simplest definition for average humanity, being couched in the language of mysticism, thus linking the truth as found in all religions. It is necessarily inadequate, for it fails to emphasize the truth that what can be poised of man can also be poised of the cosmic reality, and that just as a human appearance on earth veils both the quality and purpose, so does that synthesis of all forms or appearances within that unity which we call a solar system veil the quality and purpose of deity. It is only when man is no longer deluded by appearance and has freed himself from the veil of illusion that he arrives at a knowledge of the quality of God's consciousness and at the purpose which it is revealing. This he does in a triple manner. First, he discovers his own soul, the product of the union of his Father in heaven with the mother or material nature. This last is the personality, and then, having discovered the personality, discovers the quality of his own soul life, and the purpose for which he has appeared. Second, he finds that this quality expresses itself through 7 aspects, or basic differentiations, and that this septenet of qualities colors esoterically in all forms, in all kingdoms and nature, thus constituting the totality of the revelations of the divine purpose. This, he finds, is essentially a septenary aggregation of energies, each energy producing different effects and appearances. This discovery he makes by finding that his own soul is tinctured by one of the 7 ray qualities, that he has identified with his ray purpose, what it may be, and is expressing a particular type of divine energy. Third, from this point, he proceeds to a recognition of the entire septenet, and upon the path of initiation, he gains a glimpse of a unity hitherto neither realized nor ever sensed.
The soul, unmanifest in its essential being, manifest through the nature of its personality equipment, is always a source of mystery. It evades the analytical concrete mind. It reveals its true self to the illumined mind fused with the open heart, seeking not to grasp and to hold for personal progress, but to wield the magical power in service to mankind. The power of the soul is always available to the one who seeks, as an aspirant to accepted discipleship, to become of practical service in his own peculiar times, state, and environment.
The 7 rays are the sum total of the divine consciousness of the universal mind. They might be regarded as 7 intelligent entities through whom the divine plan is working out. They embody divine purpose, express the qualities required for the materializing of that purpose, and they create the forms and are the forms through which the divine idea can be carried forward to completion. Symbolically, they might be regarded as constituting the brain of the divine heavenly man. They correspond to the ventricles of the brain, to the 7 centers within the brain, to the 7 centers of force, and to the 7 major glands which determine the quality of the physical body. They are the conscious executors of divine purpose. They are the 7 breaths animating all forms which have been created by them to carry out the divine plan. It may perhaps be easier to understand the relation of the 7 rays to deity if we remember that man himself is a 7-fold being, capable of 7 states of consciousness, expressive of the 7 principles or basic qualities which enable him to be aware of the 7 planes which he is consciously or unconsciously functioning. He is a septenate at all times, but his objective is to be consciously aware of all the states of being, to express consciously all the qualities, and to function freely on all 7 planes. The 7 ray beings, unlike man, are fully conscious and entirely aware of the purpose and plan of creation. They are ever deep in meditation and have reached the point where, through their advanced stage of development, they are impelled toward fulfillment. They are fully self-conscious and group-conscious. They are the sum total of the universal mind. They are awake and active. Their goal and their purpose is such that it is idle for us to speculate about, for the highest point of achievement of man is the lowest point for them. These 7 rays have the task of wrestling with matter in order to subjugate it to divine purpose, and the goal, as far as one can sense it, is to subject the material forms to the play of the life aspect, thus producing those qualities which will carry the will of God to completion. They are therefore the sum total of all the souls within the solar system, and their activity produces all forms. According to the nature of the form, so will be the grade of its consciousness. Through the 7 rays, the life or spirit aspect flows forth, cycling through every kingdom in nature and producing thus all states of consciousness and all fields of awareness.
Through the highways and the byways of the vaster cosmic scheme, in the sunlight, in the starlight, come and go a golden stream. Host to host from distant coast, fringes of the cosmic deep, golden, gleaming, star mist streaming, pace they on, their watch to keep. We small mortals, at the portals of a system far unfurled, catch but flashes, tidal washes from ancient star and distant world. We are blind and cannot find the key to all of life's great story. Until we rise with open eyes, we cannot know its untold glory.